On today's episode, you saw him running the show at the Spartan Games. Spartan Race, the Vice President of Production, Mike Morris. Welcome to the OCR Report podcast, brought to you by the OCRReport.com. We are the only podcast to focus exclusively on the elite sport of obstacle course racing, from Spartan to Tough Mudder to the OCR World Championships, and wherever the elites are racing, we are there. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the OCR Report. Welcome back. Very excited to be back and talk with you. My name is Will Hicks, and you are listening to the only podcast that talks about obstacle course racing. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen very many others out there. Today in our show, Mike Morris. Mike is the Spartan Vice President of Production and has been with the company since day one, all the way back in 2010. Some of you listening right now were 10 years old in 2010. Mike is the event director for the Spartan Games, now airing on YouTube. He's the guy briefing the athletes and making the final decisions on really everything Spartan Games related. If you have watched the show, you know who I'm talking about, Mike Morris. Before we start, you can email me at willhicks@theocrreport.com. You can follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at the OCR Report. And you can text me at 619-485-2726. I will add you to my text group and send you new episode notifications, early access to episodes, and tell you happy birthday, maybe. I don't know. It's texting. You know how to text. 619-485-2726. You can leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts or by going to lovethepodcast.com/OCR, and I will read it on a future episode. Speaking of the Spartan Games, or watching the Spartan Games, if you have not watched the show yet, the episode 1, turn away now. We are talking about it, day 1 of the race. If you want the full experience of the show, pause this, go watch the first episode, and come back. I'll wait for you. Welcome back. I was only going to do like 5 seconds of that, but the longer it went, the funnier it got to me. So I'm not going to apologize. You got a fast forward button. You can skip it if you want. We are going to have Spartan Games coverage for at least the next 4 weeks as the show airs. But we are going to be real careful about spoilers. Let's talk about spoilers. New episodes of the Spartan Games go live on YouTube every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. So episode 2 goes live on December 9th. When it goes live, and when you watch it, do not jump on Instagram or Facebook and start blabbing about what you saw. Give other people a chance to see it first before you start spoiling the experience for everyone else. I get why you want to post that. You enjoyed the show. That's great. You want to talk about it with other people. Also, great. But when you post spoilers, you are making a choice to take away part of that experience from someone else. I am asking nicely, with love and respect, stop it. Stop. Posting spoilers is selfish. I know you might not mean to, but you are You are acting like a spoiled child. And again, with love and respect, knock it off. But I want to talk about it. Good. Of course you do. Find someone else who has seen it and talk about it with them. Don't talk about it publicly. Don't give people a chance to watch it. It's airing at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. It's not like a football game, Monday Night Football, where everyone's watching it live. A lot of people are at work. A lot of people have jobs. You might not have one. That's fine. Give people a chance to watch it. When can I talk about it? Great question. Here are the rules for spoilers. These are official. They aren't actually law, but they were passed under the Obama administration and they were ratified under the Trump administration. They are on public display in Washington, D.C. These are bipartisan regulations. These are the official spoiler rules. These are not my rules. They are all of our rules. I don't make them up. I just write them down. When can you post spoilers about media? Movies, 2 weeks. TV shows, 2 days. Live events, 2 seconds. 2 weeks for movies to give people a chance to get to a theater. Remember those? 2 days for TV to give people a chance to watch it on streaming. And 2 seconds for live events. If it's the Super Bowl or the Academy Awards, of course, everyone's posting right away. You can post right away. The Spartan Games are not a live event. It falls under TV. Wait 2 days and then post away. By then, people have had a chance to watch it. It's on them now. After 2 days for a TV show, you're going to see some athletes post about it. Maybe early. That's fine. I get it. They are proud of how they did, and they should be. But every single post so far that I've seen from an athlete was vague enough or worded so you wouldn't be spoiled. The early posts. It's been a few days since the show aired. People are starting to post more stuff now. That's fine. They did this competition months ago. Those 12 men, 12 women, 24 people, they are ready to talk about it. I get it. They have an exception. Unless you were one of the 12 men or 12 women that were on that course, if you post spoilers, it is because you are being selfish and you need a spanking. If you disagree with me, that is fine, but you're still wrong. Text me, 619-485-2726. Tell me how wrong I am. But you're wrong. Enough of that. I thoroughly enjoyed episode 1 of the Spartan Games. Let's talk to one of the main guys that made it happen. It's time to talk with Spartan Race Vice President of Production, Mike Morris. Let's go to the phones. Mike Morris is the Vice President of Production and has been with Spartan Race since day one in 2010. He is the event director of the Spartan Games, now streaming on YouTube. Mike Morris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Mike, you are the event director for the Spartan Games. Episode 1 just aired a couple days ago. Where did the idea for the Spartan Games originate?
That was credits due to Joe and I think Dave Watson, where Joe was like, you know what? I think to back up, we've always had this idea of a combine type event, whatever it is, and Joe shot a text out. I should probably find it when it actually came out, but it was probably 6-8 weeks before the actual Spartan Games actually happened to sit. And it was like it was a classic, like really short Joe text. It was like Vermont pro athletes combine, make it happen, right? And it went to myself, David, and David being the our product lead, kind of took that, ran with it. We had some working groups, and what started as this idea of like, let's just get the pro athletes together to do more of a combine, like a test going into next year to rank, rate, however you want to call it, work through the selection process for a pro team, if there is one. And that turned into, let's do sort of more of a battle of the fittest. Let's get people from other sports in. And so that's how it came about.
How did you select the athletes? Especially the non-OCR ones, I'm thinking, because you have the variety of guys that came in.
Sure. And credit goes to Nate Rackett, who led that charge. He's also for the last year has been sort of managing the pro team. But we knew the guidance was like, let's get a variety of people. And so it was a short fuse. And we had in some cases days to fill some spots. And so did a great job with limited amount of time. I guess if there's a silver lining in this pandemic is there's a lot of great athletes out there looking to compete. And so we were able to find some amazing athletes to come in short amount of time. Obviously if we think about the big endurance sports that have kind of recently dominated the globe, it's running, it's triathlon, it's OCR. And CrossFit, right? And then throwing CrossFit there too, the new big sports. And so we sort of honed in on those four things and figured, are there any other cool type athletes that we can pull in? Guys like Kurt, right? Previous NFL player, turned freediver, turned fitness junkie. So yeah.
I've seen Grant McCartney on TV before, obviously, but I was still surprised he just seems like a decent, nice, good guy.
All the athletes there are amazing. Like they're all super, super nice. Great to be around. Grant, yeah, his personality is bigger than life and super positive, very, very honest with you. And I think there's a reason why he does so well in Ninja Warrior. Not only is he like physically really gifted, but he's got a great personality, which lends itself awesome for his fans.
Another new athlete I hadn't seen compete before was Faith Cook. She is strong.
Total beast out there, and like the nicest person to ever meet as well.
Who are some other athletes we should keep an eye on?
I can't give it all away, but I'm trying to remember it's funny because it all kind of blends together. So, on the guy's side, Josiah, most people might not know a lot about Josiah, but he was like multi-time national Xterra champion, which is off-road triathlon, like a fat bike champion, lives and trains up in Aspen. So he's kind of a legend in the triathlon world, specifically the Xterra triathlon world. And you saw it in the first, actually he showed up at our 2011 event in Glen Rose, Texas for our first ever world championship. We brought him in to try to beat Hobie. And this is when the first world championship we had at the end of the day. It wasn't the first race. Like we had this is in Glen Rose. We had all the open, quote unquote, open heats go through. Then we cleared the course, and then they went at 3. It was dark dust. The course was a hot mess because it rained all week, and it turned into the Josiah versus Hobie battle. And I was looking back at my videos. I got videos of him and Hobie kind of battling out. Towards the end, it was close. And so he'd been involved with us way back in the day, still doing his thing, obviously. And he came out. So he's kind of a legend in his own world. And I think it's tough to call out one person to watch out for because literally they're all contenders and they're all really great athletes. On the female side, the CrossFit girls are super strong. You've got Sam Briggs, 2013, CrossFit Games champion. You've got some younger athletes like Christy O'Connell, who's been in the CrossFit Games a couple of times and is super strong. And so I feel bad that I'm actually not listing every single athlete because they're all really awesome.
There was a shot or two of the athletes wearing masks. Can you talk about the safety protocols you guys took due to COVID?
Yeah. And we take it seriously. I mean, it's, not we just want to make sure obviously everyone's safe and we can create an environment where we can, maybe it's the wrong term, but put your guard down and actually focus on the sport. Right. And so, we did what we felt was most reasonable and most effective. And that was pretty much, had to get a PCR test within, I forget the actual number, it was 5 days or something of arriving. And then when you landed the day before driving to Vermont, you had to get an antigen test within 12 hours of arriving to Vermont. And so all the staff had to do that. And then once on site, we did not leave, the staff did not leave that farm except in extreme circumstances where we're super safe. I had to go get mouth guards at 10 p.m. from a Walmart one night. And so it was those extremes, but, hand sanitizer, mask when those, exceptions happened. And that applied to anyone that came on site. And if someone showed up, who hadn't been through that process, we asked them to leave.
We're talking a few days after episode 1 has aired. What response have you received from the community?
And like anything, there's a wide variety of feedback, but the overwhelming response has been very favorable, right? It's where I was talking with the creative team, the producers that put this together, really, Sammy from Nomad and Christine and our team. And it's like art, right? It's like anything. There's opinion for everything. Some people want more drama, some people want less. And so for every single person that says, I didn't like how the race was shot, I want to see more of the progression of the actual race. There was another handful of people who said, "Oh, I loved it. Like I like seeing the cool little shots." Right? Some people say, "I hate the drama," and then there's another group that says, "I love the drama." So you mentioned earlier, kind of threading the needle. I think that team did a great job of figuring out between like thousands of hours of footage, like how to create the best story, and then how to piece together in a short amount of time.
Let's talk about day 1. 3 events: Spartan Cross, Open Water Swim, and the Spartan Highland Games. The men's Spartan Cross had some drama between Hunter McIntyre and Aaron Newell. Not to get all TMZ on it, but we saw Hunter's slap and we saw Aaron throw a bucket at Hunter. Was there any context around that we missed?
You guys, you guys saw what we saw. Like, everyone knows, but people know there's the unique dynamic between like Aaron and Hunter, and right, sometimes it's hard to tell what's friendly banter with both those guys versus like legitimate. But and during the race, like I actually didn't know what happened because I was somewhere else on the course, but we had an official that saw it, and then we saw it on film, and both Hunter and Aaron admitted to what they did. So there's not much more context besides like they got on the course and it just happened. that's my take. Clearly there's some stuff leading up, right? As both acknowledge, there's the ongoing kind of just like, but it's not like the night before they got in a wrestling match or got in a fist fight, or like they're like woke up and threw Cheerios at each other. Like there's no drama leading up to that one point that I'm aware of at the actual event.
What happened at the end of the race? Did they come to you, or did that official, he said, hey Mike, we got a situation we need to deal with? How did the officiating process go? I was trying to piece together in my head the other day that, I think I'm like 80% correct here. Someone had mentioned something to me, like one of our officials, like, "Hey, do you see Newell throw that bucket?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "I'll deal with it after," because the race was still going. I'll stand at the finish line. Actually, Hunter crossed. He was like, "You see me slap Newell?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" Right? And I played dumb and just let him talk. And so we discussed it. And then the same thing when Newell crossed, I walked over to him and he's like, "Morris, am I disqualified?" I'm like, "Why would you be disqualified?" And he's like, because I threw the bucket and Hunter, right? And so they both kind of were like, "Yeah." And then during that process, there was some backstepping, right? Trying to talk their way out of it. Got both sides of the story. And then we first didn't think we had any footage because the film team was like, "I don't know if we're over there." And then the drone guy was like, "Oh, nope, got it." And he literally, like, as the drone is coming over the bucket brigade, it was like, could have been perfect timing. So we, took some time, took all day to we had to wait for Watson to wake up in China time, or Singapore time, and get his feedback. Want to make sure we make the right call. And so it took us toward into the evening to figure out what the actual penalty was. So at the end of episode 1, no penalty has yet been announced. When can we look for that penalty announcement, if there is one?
Episode 2.
The top finishers for the Spartan Cross weren't really a surprise. The men and women OCR athletes dominated the OCR course. What did surprise you or jump out at you with the Spartan Cross?
I think how difficult of a time the non-OCR athletes had. Like maybe I'm focused on like Kurt, who's a big, strong guy, right? And it just shows that there's really some specificity that comes into play when it comes to like grip intensive sports like OCR, where these obstacles you need a lot of grip. I mean, you went to like there's a monkey bar, there's a twister, Hercules hoist, rope climb, right? The plate drag, and so you did 54 obstacles for that 5K, and so your grip got smoked, and so it was. Hunter said it. Kurt's a big, strong dude, and to see him struggling on the Hercules hoist, you're like, huh, like these, I guess it adds up over a few laps. And Lindsay's saying, Lindsay was talking about how her grip was just completely smoked, going through the whole thing.
The second event was the open water swim presented by Xterra wetsuits. How did the athletes take to 45 minutes in cold water?
Much better than I thought. I thought we'd have a much greater range of kind of performance. I'm not a big swimmer, and I went in the day before and swam it, and I'm like, man, this isn't too easy. And I was like, I wasn't sure if people were just going to kind of, like, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, right? They had wetsuits. Clearly that helped a lot, but everyone did a much better job. There's a couple athletes that are cramping up, and that kind of held them back. But the folks that weren't cramping, like, they just put their head down and went. And if you're not a swimmer, to get in 50-degree water and like just put your head down and go in a race setting for 45 minutes, like, there's this, like, the cold water feels restrictive on your chest, right? And you're at this exertion level because you're at a race, the adrenaline's pumping, and you've got this tight wetsuit on. Like, it's a lot physically, it's pretty physically demanding.
How soon after the Spartan Cross did the swim take place? Because there were at least 2 or 3 athletes that we saw cramping up. Yeah,
it was a quick turn because the men went for the cross first, and then we gave them about 45 minutes to an hour. And as soon as they went, we did a 15-minute turn to reset the cameras and everything. And the women went, and we wanted both the men and women to be there just to cheer their teammates on. There's a teammate component of this, and we don't get into it too much, but the teammates were also there to help cheer on their fellow teammates. Like, the females are there to cheer on the men and vice versa, and help count laps and stuff, just to make sure, because the way it was set up was like a little confusing, especially if you weren't used to this. You had to do 2 laps of the OCR lap, and then you went out on the spur for the run. You came back, you did 2 laps of the OCR lap, you went out on the spur, and you came back for 2. So it was 2-1, 2-1, 2. And so the teammates were there were trying to help your teammates with that and just cheer them on. It was great to have the folks around. So that's my long-winded way of saying, like, everyone was there for 2 hours, and then we were like, all right, you've got like an hour and a half to eat lunch. No, you've got an hour. Sorry, you have an hour to transition into your wetsuits and go. So the guys went first. We had a limited number of people we could bring to the actual park where the swim was because of COVID restrictions. So the men went first. The women stuck back at the farm. And so it was a really quick turn for the men. They had like an hour, and they got to the swim. They got in as soon as we were ready. Like, we had people setting up the swim as we were at the cross, getting the buoys in and getting the start arch set up and getting the lifeguards in place and stuff. So it was a quick turn.
I didn't think about this till right now, Mike, but with taking guys to the lake, and you got an hour for lunch. It's almost like an elite Spartan summer camp, like for 4 days. Like, it was like, I've done a lot of things with Spartan. I've been fortunate enough to be right place, right time, right? I was with the company early on back when we had no idea what we were doing. We're still trying to figure it out, but I think we're doing a better job now. And right, I've been involved at the world championship level. We've done some really cool things as a company. This was so unique in that it was, it wasn't 10,000 people coming through for weekend. It was 24 for 4 days. And there's film considerations. Like, we're trying to make a TV at the end of the day, but it's predicated and founded on a really amazing competition. And so 24 high-level athletes, some have no idea what Spartan is, right? So they're super weary to begin with, naturally. They're like, what is this show what is this thing I drove up for? I've heard all this about, right? And so, yeah, you throw in these logistical constraints of the different competitions. We're on a lean staff. We're in the middle of Vermont in a COVID setting. And so it's like this fun little summer camp with a lot of just like moving parts. And you're right there with the athletes. Like I've been telling people it wasn't too physically or mentally demanding as compared to like some of the world championships events where we're like working until 1 a.m. and you're sleeping 3 hours a night and you're just super stressed. This was like emotionally taxing for me because it was like you're around the athletes all the time, and they're pretty outspoken, right? And they're not afraid to tell you what they think. And so it was like you're like, yeah, it was, and like emotions are high because like there's money on the line. Yeah. So you know these athletes by the end of the 4 days, these athletes. So it was, yes, it was a summer camp plus a little extra. The last event of the day was the Spartan Highland Games with 3 events: tug of war, Spartan Stones, and the Kaiser Sled Challenge. The men's tug of war final between Hunter and Kurt was surprisingly intense. Tell me about the tug of war.
That turned out being, it's hard to tell if you weren't there, but like obviously the Highland Games is all new to Spartan, never something we've done before. Clearly the Highland Games, or just this idea of like strongman Highland Games, it's got a lot of merit and roots because there's plenty of people in the world that do it, and it's made some great TV, and like, it's a great test of fitness. I'm like, all right, let's try this. So tug of war. It was really exciting just generally to watch, right? And we drew names the night before because we didn't have a seating yet, right? So there's no good way to do it except for to draw names. And so we drew some names, and there's some funny draws early on. Like clearly, like there'd be someone that weighs like 25% more than the other person, and but then you got some really good draws, and then by the end, you have this amazing battle at the finals for both men and women, and then there was definitely a little bit more drama with the Hunter Kurt match. If you saw the show, it's just around whether he touched the line.
It seems like if there's drama, Hunter is not far from it.
I would say in that case, it's coincidental. Like, I don't think Hunter purposely created drama, and like, it's not like I'm going to try to get my foot as close to the line as possible. So I can't point that one on him. That was just a great battle. And his foot was close, and we had judges there, and it's like any sport trying to find this balance of, how do you balance making a call and having to stand on the field, and how do you leverage technology? And we made the call on the field and then validated it with the video footage we had on hand.
I could see the NFL player in Kurt come out on that play because he wanted an instant replay, and he kind of protested the call. Then the refs made a decision, and he was like, okay, refs made a call. That's it. It's over.
Yeah. It's this idea of a professional, right? And it's also funny because that's like the most serious angry, not angry, but like he like turned on a little switch there when because super nice guy, like the nicest guy created. All of a sudden he's like, I want to see that. I want to see that film. Right. He got a little pumped up. I was like, ooh, this is like competitive. Like, this is angry Kurt coming out. Like, and, but yeah, you're right. Like, once the call was validated, and, we just moved on.
The Spartan Stones looked like the hardest event of the day, just based on the number of people that didn't complete it. But then a few people looked like they were throwing pillows over that shelf. Tell me about the Stones. Yeah,
just generally we're trying to weave in this wide variety of kind of aerobic, anaerobic, strength, et cetera, endurance. And that was a great power strength test. And the folks that lift a lot of and move a lot of weight a lot, and are stronger, just noticeably did better. You get Faith was like tossing the stones over the walls, like they weighed nothing, like we said. And some of the folks that don't lift as much really struggle with it. But I was actually surprised by like how some athletes who, from what I understand, don't lift much at all, actually got, like Ryan Atkins got all 5 stones up. And like from what I understand, he doesn't really like lift a lot of heavy weight. So I was like, that was impressive. And it was, so you definitely saw the wide range of capabilities there with the athletes, depending on where their probably specificity and training lies.
Last event of the day was the Kaiser Sled. It didn't look as dramatic as some of the other events, but it still looked fairly grueling.
Yeah, that was it was hard. The rain started coming down. It was dark. So it was a tougher one to shoot. And Kaiser's a great partner, and that's a great test. We've had that one before. We used to have that as a festival challenge back in the day, and people loved it. And firefighters, like, they have actually a formal competition, and they get really good and efficient at it. There's a technique to use where you have to like thrust your hips and slide your feet, and you can get it down to like really quick. So it's still really tough, right? You're smacking that weight, and you got to get to slide down. And by the end of the day, your grip's smoked. You're swinging this plastic hammer. You're trying to move this thing, and it's pretty exhausting.
With the obvious exception of the slap and bucket toss, it seemed like there was a high level of sportsmanship between the athletes. Can you talk about what that was like in person?
we had all the athletes sleeping in the same room, like the men in one room and the women in the other, in one of Joe's barns. And you saw that in the intro. And I think that lent itself to like this dynamic that formed, this bond that formed with the athletes that I think really helped. I think in my eyes, change kind of how the show developed. Like by the end, you saw them like sharing tips and techniques. It wasn't like, hey, I'm not going to talk to you, you're my enemy. You saw the specialists talking to the others about how to do stuff better. Like there's still this level of encouragement within the athletes. And then as they're in there, as they stay with each other, like I'd hear about the different, just the cyber conversations that would happen. And so I think the dynamic was really positive among them all and really supportive. And that was something we did kind of a not on film last dinner. Last thing that we did was we went around the room and did like a kind of a peaks and valleys or hits, for like the people's like, what was their best part? What was their high point? What was their low point? And a lot of the athletes, the general theme was like, yeah, great, it formed some great relationships with you guys. And we'll never forget this. I think part of that was because like they're competing against each other. They're living with each other in the same room. And then they're also supporting each other.
Day 2 of the Spartan Games will feature Deca Strong and mountain biking. What can the athletes look forward to with those events?
Let's see. What can I say without spoiling anything? Could be drama, could be not. It's some amazing performances. I guess I could say with the bike, the running joke there, and maybe this will come out in the show, so I might be getting in trouble with my producer saying this, is like there was a little bit of a, like, I'm going to call it miscommunication or, how we communicate with the athletes. But in hindsight, it makes sense, like how this could happen. But Joe's farm is home to amazing mountain bike trails in Vermont, like some of the best in Vermont, in my opinion. There's not a ton of them, but if you've never ridden there, they're most flowy, fun, well-cut trails in Vermont. And if you mountain bike, like Northeast Single Track is known for being just a gnarly, bony, rooty, super technical, like full suspension rig needed to go fast. And these trails, and I mountain bike a lot, right? And so these trails, in my opinion, aren't that technical, right? They're if you mountain bike, they're probably, and I think the equivalent for me is like they're probably like a blue, like a blue square on a ski slope if you've never skied before, or if you do ski, right? And so but somewhere along the way, I was like, yeah, they're not that bad. They're not that technical, whatever. Trying to figure out what sports to do and stuff. And that somehow it made its way to the athletes that it was like non-technical rolling hills. So the ongoing joke, which is also a bit of a jab to me, which was like, you told us this was non-technical rolling hills. And so you'll see from that some of the stuff. And I don't think some of the athletes would have showed if we said like, yeah, this is like gnarly Vermont single track. Like people are really, really concerned about mountain biking, and some of them have never mountain biked before. So, but as you would expect, like type A, super competitive, world-class athletes, like they still killed it, like for folks. And like we were renting bikes for most of them. Like I was like going out the local shop, and the owner's like, what's going on? And I explained, he's like, these guys ever been before? And I was like, no, not really. And they're like, what? Like the shop owners were like, what? And so, yeah, a bit of a little communication mistake on my end, but call it a white lie, if you will. And it got the athletes there. They made it through. Their attitudes were amazing and made for great competition. I think generally speaking, we want to determine, if you back up a bit and think about those Spartan Games, like, clearly we're biased towards mountain biking because we own La Ruta de la Conquistadores, these like epic stage race down in Costa Rica that we bought and helping develop. And our roots, just as like, Joe and our original folks that met, like we're all rooted in mountain biking as well. And so we think mountain biking is like really a really good test of athleticism, right? It's, if you think about cycling in general, at least I have a lot of friends that can ride a road bike and they can hammer, and they'll go out and crush 20, 21 miles an hour on a road bike. Well, they won't touch a mountain bike because they're like, no way. I don't know where to start on that. So I think it requires a little different level of athleticism. So that's why we chose to have it in. And I think it was a great test for a lot of the athletes, and a good way to measure who we think is the fittest person in the world.
People are already asking about season 2 of the Spartan Games. Is this a one-off because of COVID, or could there be a season 2 next year?
Who knows what's going to happen next year, right? But I think it would be silly of us to not take such positive feedback we've had seriously in trying to develop a second season. I know we're all in favor of it, but I mean, there's so many things up in the air right now. I think, as everybody knows, including our, what the main season is going to look like, and how this fits in, but we all loved it. And I think the general consensus is we'd love to have a season 2 and to start thinking about it like now, right? Like how do we recruit people? How do you find the athletes to join and attend? So we give them more than like 2 weeks in notice, 3 weeks in notice. And then they can, better prepare for some of the challenges. That was it. Like some of the athletes were like mountain biking, cool. Like I get it. Like I love to do it, but like I need more than 2 weeks to prepare for it, if you will. But yeah, I think generally speaking, there's a push to do a season 2.
Mike, I noticed you have some corporate partners you're working with for the Spartan Games. Could you want to tell me about a couple of them? Maybe highlight one or two?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that chance to. I mean, Harley Davidson was a key presenting sponsor for this, and they've been a great partner. If you've been to our events, you can get on. They have these really cool in the festival. These dynamometers. I don't even know what you call them, but you can actually get on the bikes and like turn them on and like kind of rip through the gears in the festival. So it's we found this unique partnership where a lot of our customers really like motorcycles, Harley Davidson. So it's a great chance for people to actually get on a bike and test it in a safe setting with a rep there. And so they were a great partner helping us underwrite it. Body Armor was there, and they provided a lot of the hydration, the sport water. And then if you walked into the athlete where they're sleeping, there's just tons of Body Armor, Honey Stinger, tons of great nutritional supplements with their gels and their blocks and their waffles. I personally been using them for years, ever since I was doing adventure races. So I love what they have. And then who else was there? We had Xterra wetsuits came through last minute because a lot of these athletes, we wanted to tell athletes as much as possible so they could prepare, but still leave a lot of this as unknown, right? So we had to tell them that there was a swim, right? Because they clearly had to show up with like goggles or like bathing suits, right? And then, but we didn't want to reveal too much stuff. But then we realized, all right, we should probably let them know it's gonna be a cold water swim. And so a lot of them were like, I don't have a wetsuit. What do I do? And so we were lucky enough to team up with Xterra wetsuits, who in the matter of hours was able to outfit every athlete, like sent them wetsuits. Got the sizing right, because wetsuits are unique to fit, right? So it got the sizing right, and it really allowed for a better competition because the athletes showed up in the right gear. And the last thing you want is to be limited by your gear, right? To not have the right gear and just suck because of that. And so since everyone had a wetsuit, it made it much better. Man, I'm definitely forgetting some. And there's some protein shake sponsors that were there, and I think Now was called. The non-alcoholic beer, Athletic Brewing. I'm gonna get yelled at by my sponsorship team, but I'll stop guessing now.
Mike, any last thoughts on day one of the Spartan Games?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The drama is, we talked a lot internally about like what this show should be about, and what we came to a decision on was the core group was like, this has got to be about sport. Like this is a battle of the fittest. Let's not just make this a battle of like who can deal with drama. And so there's a battle of the fittest, but we know that good TV is based around drama. But drama doesn't mean like, silly like real world stuff, right? It can be drama based around sport. So let's let the drama develop based around the competition that we've created. And that could be drama like there's a minute left in the final competition or whatever, right? And the top two point leaders are like, they're sprinting to the finish, like that kind of drama. It could be drama with the stuff that we saw develop. And I just don't want people to think that we manufactured the drama. It wasn't like we sat there and we're like, hey, like Hunter and Newell, we want you guys to get in a fight and we'll like stage it. Like that was very organic and just happened. And we had cameras everywhere all the time. And so there was actually some other stuff that happened that we didn't even want to show that just took away from the main competition. Like we felt that stuff with Aaron and Hunter was really relevant to the overall competition, which is why we showed it. But we don't want that to be kind of the overriding theme of the event, right? We want this to be about the amazing athletes and the competition and how they're like really getting out of their comfort zone. Every night we would reveal the next day competition and like the look on some of the athletes' faces and the responses as well, like the suggestions on how to change, the debating, right? It was clear we were taking a lot of these athletes out of their comfort zone, and I really am grateful that they trusted us to do that.
You can watch day 2 of the Spartan Games on Wednesday, December 9th. You can see it and past episodes on the Spartan YouTube page. Mike Morris, thanks much.
Thank you, Will, and thank you everybody for listening.
Special thanks to Mike Morris. Well done, Mike. We're going to have him back next week to talk about episode 2. Stay tuned for that. What did you think about the games? What was the best part? Let me know. 619-485-2726. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.